civilians were deliberately targeted. These crimes are now widely recognized as the Isak genocide.
Someone doing all these things are lecturing us today what they call genocide and things like that.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are breaking down a very intense and significant clash at the United Nations Security Council after Israel became the first country in the world to unilaterally recognize Somaliland as an independent state, a move that has set off a major diplomatic storm. On December 26, 2025, Israel announced that it will formally recognize Somaliland, a self-declared republic in northwestern Somalia that has sought independence since 1991. No other country had ever done this before. Israel's declaration was followed by an emergency session of the United Nations Security Council to address the fallout. This is huge because Somalia considers Somaliland an integral part of its sovereign territory. So when Israel stepped in and recognized it as a state on its own, it sparked enormous controversy. At the Security Council, Somalia's ambassador to the UN, Abubakar Dahi Osman, unleashed one of the toughest rebukes you'll see in diplomatic history. His core message was, "Don't lecture us about genocide," accusing Israel of hypocrisy while fighting in Gaza. He warned Israel not to lecture Somalia about actions in Somaliland decades ago, while Israel itself is currently accused of committing atrocities in Gaza that the world has witnessed.
In 1960, when Somaliland emerged as an independent state, Israel was among 35 countries that formally recognized its independence. In the late 1980s, under the regime of Siad Barre, Somaliland's civilian population was subjected to mass atrocities. Entire cities were destroyed, civilians were deliberately targeted. These crimes are now widely recognized as the Isak genocide. At the time, Israel was the only country to formally raise these atrocities in this very council. For more than 3 decades since, it has existed entirely outside the authority of Mogadishu. Since 1991, Somaliland has consistently met the objective criteria for statehood under customary international law, as reflected in the Montevideo Convention. 1. It has a permanent population. 2. A defined territory. 3. An effective government. 4. The capacity to conduct foreign relations. In fact, Somaliland has held regular competitive elections, ensured peaceful transfers of power, and maintained effective governance and security throughout its territory. In a region marked by instability, Somaliland has demonstrated continuity, responsibility, and restraint. Moreover, Somaliland's engagement with the international community is already sustained and practical.
Before proceeding further, I want to make additional remarks in my capacity as a Somali representative of Somalia to directly address the claims made by the representative of Israel who spoke before me. I will make 3 points, Excellency. First, actions of occupying power in Palestine and indeed in the broader region are well documented. These actions constitute clear violations of international law. What we see today and time again are acts to terrorize civilian populations and crimes against humanity and forced displacement of a whole community, starvation of innocent people, and killing and maiming hundreds of thousands. And someone doing all these things are lecturing us today what they call genocide and things like that. I'm shocked to listen to the outrageous comments from the Israeli representative. If we want to talk about genocide, it's Israel that's committing on our own eyes every day. Somalia had a civil war, and the civil war has its own effects, and we believe the civil war was also financed from outside. So to come to this place and lecture us humanity and genocide and human rights and independence and democracy, and we know what you're doing on a daily basis, is just an insult. and I cannot take it without responding to this. I thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, in response to these developments, the federal government of Somalia issued a statement reaffirming its absolute and non-negotiable commitment to its sovereignty, national unity, and territorial integrity as enshrined in the Provisional Constitution of the Federal Republic of Somalia, the Charter of the United Nations, and the Constitutive Act of the African Union. The federal government of Somalia further stated that it categorically and unequivocally rejected what it characterized as a deliberate attack on its sovereignty. The Somali statement further noted that no external actor has the authority or standing to alter its unity or territorial configuration. Therefore, according to the statement, Somalia considers any declaration, recognition, or arrangement that seeks to undermine this reality to be null and void, and without any legal or political effect under international law. In its statement, Somalia also underscored that it would not permit the
Recognition with another country. Any such purported arrangements are therefore null and void. Further, this action represents a direct violation of the UN Charter, the African Union's fundamental principles, and a breach of cornerstone of the international law. Respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the states. This act of aggression is aimed at encouraging fragmentation of the territory of Somalia, which is the northwestern region, is an integral part and is destabilizing the Horn of Africa, entire Horn of Africa, and the Red Sea region. It should be firmly rejected and condemned unequivocally by all member states. A3+ therefore rejects this announcement by Israel and calls for it to be rescinded. In this regard, A3+ aligns itself with the recent statements of the chairperson of the African Union Commission, His Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, in categorically rejecting all attempts at undermining the independence, sovereignty, territorial integrity of Somalia. A3+ reaffirms the long-standing and consistent position of the African Union, rooted firmly in the constitutive act of the Union and the principles of respecting borders inherited at independence, as proclaimed in 1964 decision of the Organization of African Unity, Cairo Declaration. We further call on all member states to take a unified and principled stand against this illegal action, which undermines the very foundation of the international legal order. A3+ seizes this opportunity to welcome all regional, international, bilateral, and multilateral partners who express their clear support and the commitment to the sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity of Somalia. Mr. President, taking note of the statements made by some officials regarding the forced involuntary relocation of Palestinians from their homeland to other countries, A3+ unequivocally reject any steps aimed at advancing this objective, including any attempt by Israel to relocate the Palestinian population from Gaza to northwestern region of Somalia. This action is not only unlawful, but is morally reprehensible. Recalling the provisional measures and advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice regarding the forcible displacement of Palestinian people from their land, we call on Israel to comply with its legal obligation.
Somalia saw the recognition as a blatant violation of its sovereignty, calling Israel's decision an act of aggression against Somali unity and territorial integrity. The Somali representative also argued that this decision could destabilize not just Somalia, but the entire Horn of Africa and Red Sea region. Israel defended its decision firmly. At the same meeting, Deputy Ambassador Jonathan Miller argued that the recognition was not hostile and did not preclude future dialogue with Somalia. Israel cited historical grievances from the late 1980s under Somali's leader Said Barif, describing them as genocide, as part of its rationale for recognition. Meanwhile, other nations on the Council pushed back on that justification. Some countries at the Security Council also raised the question about Israel's real motives, especially suspicions that this recognition could be tied to relocating Palestinians from Gaza and even establishing military facilities in the strategically important Horn of Africa. Israel denied any aims of undermining Somalia. Nearly every other Security Council member condemned Israel's move. Russia, China, Egypt, and the Arab League all confirmed Somalia's sovereignty and territorial integrity and rejected the recognition as dangerous precedent. The United States was a bit different. It defended Israel's right to establish diplomatic relations, comparing it to the past recognition of Palestinian statehood. Though Washington still says it supports Somalia's territorial integrity. So why is this such a big deal? Somaliland has remained relatively stable compared with southern Somalia. It has its own government, currency, and security forces, but it has never been internationally recognized. Israel's decision could reshape diplomatic alliances in the Horn of Africa, but in doing so, it defies the